Once, in a village nestled at the foot of a great mountain, lived a young man named Kale. He was prosperous, respected, and had a loving family. Yet his heart was a constant storm. Every night, he lay awake, his mind racing with worries about the future and regrets about the past. The smallest setback would send him into a spiral of anxiety, and the slightest criticism felt like a dagger to his soul. His face, once bright with youthful optimism, was now etched with lines of perpetual concern. He craved peace, a quiet mind, a moment of true stillness. But it was a treasure he could not find, no matter how hard he searched. He tried everything the world told him would bring tranquility. He filled his home with beautiful objects, hoping their elegance would soothe his spirit. He traveled to distant lands, seeking distraction in exotic sights and sounds. He threw himself into his work, believing that greater success would build a fortress around his fragile heart. But each new possession brought only a fleeting sense of satisfaction. Each journey ended with the same familiar unease, and each success only raised the stakes, creating new and more terrifying fears of failure. The peace he so desperately sought was like a phantom, always visible on the horizon but dissolving into mist the moment he tried to grasp it. One day, an elderly traveler passing through the village noticed the deep turmoil in Kale's eyes. He told him of a wise old hermit who lived high on the great mountain, a man who was said to hold the secret to unshakable inner peace. "He has stripped away all that is unnecessary," the traveler said, his voice a low whisper. "He lives in a simple cave, with nothing but the wind and the stars for company. Yet his serenity is as vast and deep as the sky itself." Desperate for a cure to his inner chaos, Kale felt a spark of hope ignite within him. He decided, then and there, that he would seek out this master, no matter the difficulty of the journey. He believed that this hermit possessed a magical formula, a hidden chant, or an ancient artifact that could finally grant him the peace he yearned for. He shunned climbing steep, rocky paths, crossing rickety bridges over chasms, and braving harsh weather. The music becomes more dramatic and determined. The climb was more challenging than Kale could have ever imagined. The path was treacherous, winding through dense, dark forests and over sharp, unforgiving rocks. Storms rushed ahead, and the wind howled like a mournful spirit, testing his resolve at every step. His body ached, his feet were blistered, and his fine clothes were torn to rags. Several times, exhausted and disheartened, he nearly turned back. The comforts of his home called to him, a siren song promising an end to his suffering. But then, he would close his eyes and remember the storm inside him. A tempest far more terrifying than any mountain gale. The memory of his sleepless nights and anxious days pushed him forward, one painful step at a time. The desire for peace was a fire in his soul, and it would not be extinguished by mere physical hardship. After many days of relentless struggle, weary and humbled, Kale finally reached a small cave near the mountain's summit. There, sitting in quiet contemplation, was the old master. His face was a tapestry of wrinkles, each line telling a story of wisdom and time, and his eyes held a profound calm, like the surface of a perfectly still lake. He radiated an aura of peace so powerful that Kale felt his own racing heart begin to slow just by being in his presence. He wasn't grand or imposing. He was just a simple old man, yet he seemed more grounded and solid than the mountain itself. Kale approaches the master, who looks up with a gentle, knowing smile. The music softens, becoming more contemplative and hopeful. Wooing deeply, Kale poured out his heart. "Master," he pleaded, his voice trembling with exhaustion and desperation. "I have traveled far and endured much to find you. My life is full of blessings, yet my mind is a relentless torment. I am plagued by worry and fear. I beg you, please, share with me the secret of inner peace. I will give you anything you ask for it." The master listened patiently, his gaze never wavering. When Kale had finished, a small, kind smile touched the old man's lips. He didn't offer a mystical incantation or a complex philosophy. Instead, he simply picked up an empty cup from his side and a nearby jug of water. "Hold this cup," he instructed Kale, his voice as calm as a gentle stream. Kale, confused but obedient, took the small, unassuming clay cup. "Now," the master continued, "hold it out in front of you. Hold it perfectly still." Kale did as he was told, holding the empty cup with an outstretched arm. A minute passed. Then 2. It was easy. The cup was light, almost weightless. He looked at the master, expecting the next instruction, the real secret. But the master simply sat in silence, his eyes closed, as if in meditation. 5 minutes passed. Kale's arm began to feel a slight strain. 10 minutes. A dull ache started to creep into his shoulder. He gritted his teeth, determined to prove his worthiness. The lightness of the cup was becoming a deceptive memory. After 20 minutes, Kale's arm was throbbing with a burning pain. His shoulder felt as if it were on fire, and his hand began to tremble, making the cup shake. He struggled to keep his arm straight, his face contorted in a grimace of effort. He was confused and frustrated. What did this have to do with inner peace? This was just torture. He wanted to shout, to demand an explanation, but he held his tongue, not wanting to fail the test. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, as the pain became unbearable and he was about to drop the cup, the master opened his eyes. "Tell me, young man," he asked softly, "is the cup heavy?" "Heavy," Kale gasped, his voice strained. "It's not heavy at all, but holding it for so long, it feels like it weighs a mountain." "My arm is in agony." The master nodded, his eyes filled with a deep, compassionate understanding. "Exactly," he said. "Your worries, your fears, your regrets, they are just like this cup. When you think of them for a moment, they are light and manageable. You can handle them. But when you hold on to them for hours, for days, for years, they become incredibly heavy. They exhaust you, they cause you pain, and they drain all your strength until you can no longer carry on." He gestured for Kale to put the cup down. The moment Kale released his grip, a wave of immense relief washed over him. The pain in his arm began to subside, and he could breathe freely again. He stared at the simple cup on the ground, and in that moment, the world shifted. It was a revelation so simple, yet so profound, that it struck him to his core. "The secret to inner peace," the master continued, his voice resonating with wisdom, "is not to find a way to never have worries. It is not to build a life free from problems. That is impossible. The secret is learning to put the cup down, acknowledge your worries, see them for what they are, and then consciously choose to set them aside. Do not carry them with you into your sleep. Do not carry them with you through every moment of your day. Put them down. Rest and pick them up again only when you have the strength and clarity to deal with them." Tears welled up in Kale's eyes, not of sadness, but of profound gratitude and release. He hadn't been given a magic spell or a hidden treasure. He had been given a truth, a practice. The source of his suffering wasn't the world outside. It was his own relentless grip on his thoughts. The peace he was seeking wasn't something to be found, but something to be allowed. It was there all along, buried beneath the weight of the burdens he refused to let go of. Kale bowed to the master, his heart no longer a storm, but a calm, clear sky after a cleansing rain. He had climbed a mountain seeking a secret from a master, but he descended with a wisdom that had come from within. He returned to his village, not as a man without problems, but as a man who knew he didn't have to carry them all the time. He learned to put down the cup, and in doing so, he finally found the unshakable inner peace he had been searching for his entire life.